week and a half away from the trade deadline. We still don't know what route the Bulls are going to go. Oh, and they had another bad loss since we last recorded. It's just the same old, same old. But we're going to dive into a lot of rumors, see what directions the Bulls can go at the deadline. On today's episode of Believe in Bulls here on the Believe Network, presented by betonline.ag. I'm your host, Nick Schultz, alongside my partner, former Bulls bench spot member and Tennessee Vol, the number 2 ranked Tennessee Vol, by the way, C.J. Watson. C.J., we've got more trade possibilities to talk, man. I'm hoping we get some action here. It just seems like the market's really quiet right now.
Yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully there's a lot of action, like you said, and, just keeping our ears and fingers on Twitter and social media and stuff, just waiting to hear the news that's going to break.
I still have my tweet alerts on for Woj and Shams. I think I did that for like free agency and I just never turned them off.
Right,
So, I mean,
yeah.
I've still got those on just waiting. And I get the alerts from Shams and like, oh, give me news. And it's like, oh, there's nothing
Right.
big. So it's just injuries and whatnot. So like, come on, I want trades.
Right.
I want news. I want excitement. And we're going to kind of see, we're getting some rumors out there. There's been some reporting over the weekend we're going to dive into. Before we do, I'm going to tell you about our sponsor, betonline.ag. BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. Everything from NFL playoffs to pro and college basketball, UFC, MMA, and more. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. With live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable, BetOnline is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. The big game is set. Philadelphia and Kansas City. That's going to be a really, really, really good game in Arizona. What are you waiting for? Head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus with your first deposit. Make sure to use our promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. It's BLEAV. Get that 50% bonus at BetOnline. It's where the game starts. And don't forget, we have an official t-shirt of the show at the official store of the network. Jordan Pippen 98, The Last Dance, exclusively at shop.believe.com. There's a lot of great stuff there to support all the shows on the Believe Network, but the official shirt of our program, Jordan Pippen 98, The Last Dance. The link to that is in my Twitter bio. All right. Before we get into trades, it feels like this team, and we've talked about this a couple times this year, they're either getting close to rock bottom or they hit it, because that Hornets loss, 111 to 96. Not only did you lose to a team that had won just 5 games at home, but you lost to the worst defensive team in the league. And you didn't score 100 points. That strike 1, strike 2, strike 3, you're out. So I was worried how they bounced back against Orlando. They did by 21-point lead to a 5-point lead. Then finally the Bulls came away with a 128 to 109 win. They needed that. But man, what a weird week.
Yeah, they had some bad losses. And that Charlotte was probably, like you said, I don't know if we can pinpoint to which loss is the worst this year, but that's probably one of those you can throw in the bag and just toss around. But they got to stop playing down to their competition and really just have like that killer instinct. I think that's what they're lacking. That's what they're lacking, is a killer instinct, and just really just going out there and just playing 48 minutes. I haven't seen them play a full 48 minutes in a while.
I don't think it's happened this year.
Right.
To be honest with you. I think maybe once. I think we talked about it on here. I don't even know what
Right.
game it was, but they're up, they're down. It just I don't know what to point it to besides roster makeup, which we've beaten that drum all year, but you're under 500. You can't be playing down to your opponents. You can't do it anyway if you are over 500. But when you're in the spot you're in, barely clinging to the play-in spot, they're now on the outside looking in, by the way, of the play-in tournament. Like, you can't play down to your opponents. You've got to treat everyone the same.
Yeah, everyone. You got to treat everyone just like a big game, just like your biggest competition out there, defending champions or whatever. And that's what they haven't done. Every game, I think they really just take a step back. Every time you say they take a step forward, they take 2 steps back. And it's like it's kind of like a going on theme throughout this whole season.
23-26 is the record after they beat Orlando. And man, I thought they were going to lose that game. It was a 21-point game. It went back to a 5-point game. Looked like they were going to lose it. And then they finally pulled away. And I was wrong, by the way. The Pacers are a half game back of the Bulls. So the Bulls are tied in the 10th seed right now with Washington. But it's jam-packed right now in the standings. And I'm just tired of this playing down to the competition. And it's not like, I feel like you're bordering on not fixable because you're 50 games into this thing. Like,
for sure.
This is who they are, that we found their identity.
Yeah, I think so. And just like you said, everyone's been calling to blow it up. And I think if they keep going in this trend, they're going to blow it up before the trade deadline. If they keep it, keep losing like this and losing to the teams that they've lost to. I can understand if you're losing to competitive teams that, are 1, 2, and 3 in the seed in your conference, but this is just you're losing to the worst teams of the worst, and it's not getting any better.
Casey Johnson at NBC Sports Chicago has reported he'd be surprised if any of the big three get traded, Zach, DeMar, and Vooch. He said Vooch is the one to keep an eye on just because of the contract situation.
Right.
And he's on an expiring contract. He's not a restricted free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent after this year. So
Yep.
you may as well try to get something for him if that trade was a mistake. Now, I would still do that trade over again, but it comes down to roster makeup otherwise.
Right.
But when you talk about blowing it up, and I mean, if they keep losing like this, it feels inevitable. We're a week out. They have, if I count right, 5 games before the deadline because they play a game on deadline day. If they blow it up, you've got to get draft capital. That is the biggest thing because that's my biggest worry with blowing this thing up is you have no draft capital right now.
Yeah, you got to get something for it, and just like you said, if Vooch is gonna go, you don't want to let him go for free in the summertime, and you really get something back for him, something you can build on. And I think that's what hopefully they're trying to do is build for the future and just really reshape this roster to get it back to playoff contention and competing for titles.
That's the biggest thing is compete for titles, and they're in the play-in field right now. Even again, I thought they were the 11 seed. I had the Pacers on the brain, which okay, easy to flip them. They're a half game difference. Like that's where it's at. It's so middle of the pack here.
Yeah.
Like you can sneak in. It's not out of the possibility. It's just beat Charlotte at home because that's a team you should beat, especially when they're 15-36 now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they definitely got to figure out a way to, like I said, just to reshape, refocus, and like I said, regroup. And I think if they do that, if they would have had a couple wins in a row, they could really separate themselves from the pack. And now they're just bunched up at the bottom, and it's really dog of all dogs at the bottom, and who's going to go out first. So I think hopefully they'll get some wins and get a win streak going, and just figure it out.
It's hard to say what direction the front office is going to go because they just keep things so quiet and like, okay, that's great. I respect that. You want to run a tight ship. You don't want to be leaking like Garpax used to. I mean, you hear stuff all the time. I mean, it would be nonsense stuff, but you hear a bunch of stuff from Garpax. Like, they run a tight ship, but when you're in the spot, like you'd think you'd hear some chatter to try. I mean, the one thing we're hearing, because I was going to say you drive the asking price up for somebody is Alex Caruso. Caruso to me would have the highest trade value on this team. Reportedly, this is multiple places, the asking price is 2 first-round picks.
Right.
I mean, do you think that's fair? I'm gonna put your GM hat on here. Is that what you would ask for him?
I mean, I don't know. It seems pretty high. I know he's a high value guy. He's a great defensive player. That doesn't really give you much on offense. But like I said, he plays hard, he hustles, and that's what you want in a team. And I think that's what the Bulls need. But I don't know if they're going to get 2 first-round picks for him. It's kind of high.
See, my angle with this is I'm fine with them asking that because if you get a team that needs him that bad and wants him that bad, maybe they'll pay him.
Right.
But like Joe Cowley at the Sun-Times reported, this basically makes him untouchable. So it's the best of both worlds. You got to blow me away to make an offer for me to take it. That would do it. So I'm good with this path with Alex Caruso because he is the heart and soul of your team. He's your guy on defense. He leads the charge. So I'm fine with a high asking price for him, even if you don't get it. That way you keep him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you just ask and you see whoever wants to get it, give it to him. I still think one of the big three gets traded. I don't know if they decide to retool this thing and go in a different direction. It wouldn't shock me, but it wouldn't surprise me either.
Now let's talk about the big three again, because we talk about like, oh yeah, it feels like something's coming. The contract situation is a huge thing here because we talked about Vooch being an unrestricted free agent. DeMar is due for an extension because next year is the last year of his deal. I think he's got an option or something, but next year is essentially the last year of his deal. Yep. That's why those two guys are the ones that I could see if you're going to make a move, if you want to make a big move, and even, I don't want to say tank because I don't think they're going to try and lose out. There's so much needs to happen, but to get a first round pick is kind of the goal here at this point. Yeah. One of those guys has to be on the move just because of the contract situation.
Yeah, for sure. They're definitely, and you also want to go younger too. If you want to trade one of those guys, you want to go younger and build for the future. And hopefully the young guys can develop into a superstar or all-star caliber type player. So definitely want to get some first round picks in there and, hopefully, it works out for you.
Like the pick they have coming from Portland is top 14 protected, and Portland has the same record as the Bulls right now, 23-26. So you need Portland to be in the playoffs. Basically,
Right.
you need them to be in the top 15 teams in the league. Let's make that clear. Like the top 14 picks are the 14 worst teams, like in lottery order. So
Yep.
you need the Blazers to be out of the lottery to keep that pick. That's why I think if you're AK and Eversley, I know they've been quiet. I know it would be a shock if they trade one of the big three, but I don't want to be a what do they call it? Monday morning quarterback type, a armchair general manager. That's the term I'm looking for. I
Right.
don't want to be an armchair GM here, but you need a first round pick desperately. If
Yeah.
you can get two out of this, great. And when I say two, the Blazers make the playoffs.
Right.
But that's the reality of the situation here. That's why I'm calling for a trade.
Yeah, it's a lot of things like you said that has to happen for it to go the Bulls' way, and who knows if it's going to shape that way. I don't. Is Portland even in the playoff picture right now? Are they in the play-in?
Right now, if I look at the Western Conference standings, Portland is not. They are a game and a half back of a playoff spot.
Right. So we won't get that pick then.
Right.
Right. So
So
yeah, it's a
you
lot of things that has to happen. So I don't know. I would just bank on, like you said, getting a trade and trying to figure it out on my own instead of, relying on someone else to get to the playoffs, especially that West Coast Conference is definitely a hard conference to get in the playoffs and even playing in. You can see the Lakers, they're a good team and great players that they're still on the outside looking in.
Now, don't get me wrong. I fancy myself as I like to gamble
Right.
sometimes. 50% welcome bonus at Bet Online, by the way. Like that shameless plug there. But this would be too risky even for me to
Right.
say, no, we're gonna stand pat. We're not gonna trade one of the big three. I still think Kobe White is an interesting trade piece. More on that in a second. We heard a rumor this weekend. But let's say you don't trade any of them, you don't get a first round pick in this draft. You are banking on not only the lottery odds to keep you in the top four, which okay, then you get a franchise player in the top four with you get, Wembanyama, Scoot Henderson, Nick Smith. You're banking on that, and you're banking on the Blazers to win some games. And they want that pick.
Right.
So that's a huge risk if you stand pat and stay quiet.
Yeah, it's a big risk, and the front office has a lot of moves to make, a lot of decisions to make for now, for the present, and for the future of this the Bulls team and Bulls organization.
Now, Kobe White, as I said, is an interesting trade piece. You've heard his name come up. I don't think you get a first round pick this year for Kobe White. Not this year.
Yeah, I don't
I
think
don't,
so. Yeah, he's a good
but
piece for your team, but he's not that
right.
typical come off the bench give you 20 type guy. He's a good 10 to maybe 12 points a game and solid defense, good great 3-point shooter.
That's not recipe for a first round pick. Maybe a second.
Right.
You can get a second
Yeah.
round pick this year for him. But I
Right.
mean, and you can find diamonds in the rough in the second round. Hello, Ayo Dosunmu. But
Right.
they're not all going to be Ayo Dosunmu. I mean, they're
Yeah.
not all going to be, even Fred Van Vliet, who was undrafted, but like that type, or like, a CJ Watson type, like
Maybe
so,
you might
so
get a few.
right. Like they're not all like that. So you can't put all your eggs in a second round pick. Kobe White for Jay Crowder has been thrown around over the weekend. The Action Network reported that those conversations have taken place. We've talked about Jay Crowder on the show a little bit.
Yep.
The Bucks just Monday morning, Shams reported. Good, it's good to have Shams' tweet notifications on sometimes. Like the Bucks got permission to talk to him. We have talked about, I say again, Jay Crowder to the Bulls as the 3-and-D guy we've been looking for. With where this team is at right now, would you do that?
I don't know. I wouldn't give up one of my best 3-point shooters for another guy. Like I said, I would like Jay Crowder on this Bulls team. I think he would add a lot of toughness, another 3-point shooter, defense, a veteran leader. But I don't know if I would make that swap.
Now, some context here. He requested a trade before the year. He hasn't played all year.
Right.
He's been wanting a
Yeah.
trade. He's meeting with the Bucks now. We've heard some rumors that a trade could be coming. It seems to me like he's going to go to more of a contender. It seems like
Yeah.
he's kind of like that extra piece for a contender type.
Yeah.
Like if the Bulls would have turned this thing around and gotten over 500 and put
Right.
themselves like in position to be in the playoff field instead of being in position to be in the play-in field, yeah, we start talking about it because then you say, okay, let's go try and win this thing.
Yeah.
With where they're at right now, I agree with you. I don't think that's a smart trade, especially if there are no picks involved. If that's just straight up.
Yeah. It
No,
doesn't
no,
make
no,
any
no.
sense. Yeah. They're two different caliber type of players. And like I said, Kobe White is still young, still fresh, still learning in this league, still developing. And I think eventually maybe he can turn to a Drake Crowder or better. So I don't know if I would do that switch.
Yeah, I mean, he's developed into a really good ball handler and his defense
Yeah.
has gotten better. Now, you had the decision to make. You're not picking up his option. They decided that This is it for Kobe in a
Right.
Bulls uniform. Maybe I think he's a restricted free agent. I think that's how it worked out. So it's you can match, but it's to make that trade just seems like an odd move. But that's not the only rumors we've heard over the weekend. The Trailblazers, appropriately, have come up as a trade partner. And I haven't heard any specifics. This is also from the Action Network that the Bulls and the Blazers have talked. With no specifics, I decided, okay, let's look at the roster.
Right.
You're untouchables with Portland. And I mean, this is just common sense looking at the roster. It's Damian Lillard, Anthony Simons. I mean, I think Jeremy Grant was the other one that's untouchable.
Right.
Maybe Nurkic. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe Nurkic around. So two names that interest me if there was to be a match here. Gary Payton II would be interesting. And
Yep.
Josh Hart's name has been hot on the trade market. Now, Gary Payton II's name hasn't been out there in trade rumors. But to me, that's the type of guy I think you go after.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I would go after him number one because he's a Vegas kid. So, shout out to Vegas.
Hey,
I always root for Vegas kids, but definitely a great defender. Needs to work on his, outside shooting and stuff like that. But I think he brings that intensity, that defensive energy you need to a team like the Bulls.
I mean,
Also, the same with Josh Hart.
yeah, Josh Hart he's more the shooter type. I feel
Yeah,
like he's the type of shooter you'd be looking for. He's a guy, if you want to trade Kobe White, that's the type of
that
guy I think
yeah,
you go get because that can help replace that
right.
production. I think Josh Hart could even be better than Kobe White. Do you think?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so. I think when you're looking at trades, you always want to trade to get better. You don't want to trade to stay the same or get worse in a case. So you always want to trade up and bring more value to your team.
I'm old enough to remember when Garpax traded for Otto Porter Jr. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, that was one of his best moves.
I was in class for that. That was fun. Um, yeah. Anyway, now that I just relived that memory, I still, I mean, Josh Hart would be a good addition. I feel like just from the shooting standpoint, you need
Yeah,
shooting, and I think he
yeah,
can be more productive than Kobe White. But I mean, Gary Payton II brings that defense we've been wanting all year. I think he could pair him with Caruso. That's a really good defensive unit. You can put
yeah,
DeSumo, Caruso, and Gary Payton II, and I don't want to call him Gary Payton just because I mean Gary Payton's Gary Payton, but
yeah, yeah.
it's Gary Payton's kid. You
Right.
know, what he did with the Warriors, you worry, oh, is that a flash in the pan? Maybe, but I think he proved himself worthy of put him with a really good defensive unit. You can play lockdown defense.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. Like he showed exactly what he was capable of and what he's been doing. I've known about him for years before even him getting to the NBA. So I always seen his defensive prowess and stuff like that. Like I said, all he has to work on is outside shooting and playmaking a little bit. But I think that will come eventually when he has more time and more opportunity. When you're in the Warriors, you don't get a lot of time to shoot when you have Clay and Steph and other people. So just got to go in and do what you do, and that's what he did, and got a championship out of it.
It's the old Patrick Williams thing. Like you've got
Yeah,
shooters around you, you don't need to shoot. Like
right.
as much as I want Patrick Williams to shoot the ball more, and he has, by the way, he's looking really, really
Yeah,
good. He's
yeah,
looking like what we should have seen last year.
right.
Like it's the supporting cast, and I don't have the point guard that I want. I mean, I've been pounding my chest. I want another point guard, and I don't have Anthony Simons would be the one to go after on that team, but he's not.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
not
yeah.
trading Anthony
No, no,
Simons. Like, and
not
they're
even a doubt.
no, and Dame's not getting traded. Not with that
No,
contract. Even if he wasn't putting up the numbers with that
right.
contract, he's not getting traded.
Yeah, yeah, not at
So
all. Yeah,
the thing with this, I mean, those are the two guys that I would go after for sure. I don't think you go after Nurkic. I don't think you need it, and that would include a Vucevic move to like
right.
replace size with size.
Yeah,
I don't think you go after Nurkic. I think Peyton and Hart are the two guys to watch. So my question to you, a trade package would have to include Kobe White, right? For either one of those guys.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, either one of them, or like I said, maybe they might trade Io. I don't know. I mean,
I
who
hope
knows
they
what their
don't.
front office? Yeah, who knows what they're thinking at this point? But all we can do is speculate and just hope for a good trade to make the team better and more competitive.
I mean, Io's name has been thrown around. Just second round pick is his contract is done after this year because he was the second rounder. But I hope they extend him, as I think he's
Yeah,
one of those pieces you talk about building for the future.
right.
That's the type of guy that you keep around. As he could start. He's proven he can start and be effective as a starter.
Yep.
Like I think he's one of those guys you build around. Io, Patrick Williams. I think Dalen Terry is going to be a stud if he can develop an outside jumper. If he can develop any
Yep.
semblance of a jumper, like
Yep.
those three guys to me are your untouchables. I know you said you think you have a gut feeling that Zach could be on the move. I think you hold on to Zach just again with the contract and his age.
Right, yeah, for sure. He's definitely a franchise player, all-star caliber, and definitely someone you want to build for because he's still young and I think he can still get better. You know, things he still has things he can work on to really improve his game and be more efficient.
Shot selection. Please
That's
improve your shot
that's
selection.
that's number one. That's on the list.
I was talking on Twitter with Michael Walton. We used to work at NBC Sports Chicago together. I was an intern. He was digital, and we went back and forth. And I'm like, I wish his shot selection was better. He's like, that ship has sailed. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
you're pretty much right because he's forcing shots left and right. I mean, some of them go in. I mean, if you
yeah,
make
yeah.
it, there is no bad shot if you make it.
I
I
mean,
mean,
if you
you could
throw anything up there a million times, it's gonna go in eventually.
right, right. So like, and if you make it, it's a good shot because okay,
Yeah,
you made it. Like that's the old
yeah,
thing when you make a trade and you win a championship. I go back to the baseball example. The Cubs traded the farm for Aroldis Chapman. It was a
yeah.
bad trade, but they won the World Series, so it was a good trade.
Right,
Like
yeah,
if the Bulls were to trade Zach and DeMar and get some really good pieces back and win a title, guess what? That's a good trade.
yeah,
Like
yeah, for
if
sure.
Zach shoots enough and they go in, it's a good shot.
Yeah, but I
So
think it's also that false narrative. You know, if you shoot bad shots and they go in, you really think it's a good shot, and it's
it
probably
develops
not.
bad habits. Yeah.
And no one's probably telling them these are bad shots, so they're probably telling them to keep shooting them. So it's like I feel like it's
Right.
a, you know, it's a whole team thing. The coaches have to be telling them, you know, take better shots, and his teammates have to also say the same thing. So
It's a double-edged sword,
yeah, yeah,
absolutely. And that's where a true point guard would come in too to like
right,
set him up for those shots instead
yeah,
of him
yeah,
trying to be the true point
force it,
guard and the shooter.
right.
Like it, it's a mess. That's why I wish there were more point guard rumors out there because I want one really, really bad,
Yeah, I mean,
and
you
I don't
never know. It
hear
might be
anything.
one. So we don't hear
Yeah,
anything, and they might be working on it. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, when it's all quiet like this, the gears get turning and I start dreaming. I dream
Right,
big as evidenced. I
right.
dream big. And I don't know who's going to be out there, but it feels like that Charlotte game, even after beating Orlando, Orlando's a bad team. I mean,
Yeah,
they have good players. They're going to be on the up and up, but right now they're a bad team. The loss to Charlotte, that should signal a shakeup of some kind. I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back of something has to change.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's got to be starting with trading either Vooch or DeMar.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna come soon. Like we don't know. Like you said, there hasn't been much rumors out there. Front office is very quiet. So hopefully, you know, soon within these next couple of days, they will hear something. And like I said, it won't make the team worse and make them better.
I mean, we're a week and a half out from the deadline. Chatter's hopefully going to pick up. It seems like it's starting to pick up. We're hearing more and more from you hear Shams and Woj all the time with their stuff, but you're hearing
Yeah,
more from like the Action Network, Yahoo, Bleacher Report. This is where it's going to get interesting. And I mean, if anything happens, we'll have it here for you for
yeah,
sure. But let's go around the league real quick because something else happened this weekend that we need to talk about. That Laker game, Lakers Celtics.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Man, that was definitely a great game, great atmosphere. A lot of drama. That's all I can say.
Yeah. I mean,
but,
for
but
if
but
you
fun
somehow
drama
missed it,
also.
if you somehow missed this, and I don't know how you did,
Right,
LeBron got fouled at the buzzer. The referees didn't call. I mean, it was blatant. I mean,
right,
it was a blatant foul. He, I'll say, voiced his displeasure with it, very animated
right.
about it. No call. And then between regulation and overtime, Patrick Beverly went over to a photojournalist and grabbed his camera, which apparently had a picture of the foul, and showed it to the referee and got teed up. I mean, that was a whirlwind of events. It was
Yeah.
hysterical. I mean, is that the best technical foul you've ever seen? Because I know it is for me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that had to be one of the or either J Kidd spilling his drink on the floor in
That
Brooklyn
one
that one
too.
time. Yeah. But that yeah, Pat Bev is a he's gonna forever go down as a classic with that. And I can't believe he got a tech for
Oh, I can't. I can't believe he didn't get
that.
tossed for that.
Right.
I
Yeah, that's
mean,
crazy.
you get the wrong referee. I mean, you're gone.
Oh yeah, easily.
But
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, Pat Bev. I mean, that's Chicago through and through, man. You're gonna know
Yeah.
where you stand.
Right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
No ifs, ands, or buts. He's on the right side.
right, right. I mean, and then the LeBron foul. I mean, it was bad. I mean, the fact that the NBA wasted no time. You didn't have to wait for the last 2 minute report. They said it
Oh
right
yeah.
after the game. Like
Yeah.
it was a bad call, or bad no call, I should say.
Right.
Like, I mean, that whole thing, and then the Lakers end up losing. I mean, man, it's just brutal. But that chain of events there, that was all time.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
crazy.
understand. Even I know people make mistakes all the time. Refs make mistakes, but I don't see how you're a ref right in that's in your clear view. How do you miss that? And if you look back at the replay, the ref was looking at the rim.
Mhm.
It wasn't even looking at the players. I guess. I mean, I guess I can see how he missed it, but I don't know what the refs are trained to look at in that position. It's just hard to say how you missed that foul.
Right. And I mean, I never refereed basketball. I umpired baseball, softball for a few years. So I
Right?
like
Yeah.
those I can tell you. I'm like, okay, he was out of position.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
with basketball, that one I'm like, I don't know what they're looking at, what they're looking
Yeah.
for, where they're
Right.
standing. But that's just I mean, it was he didn't get any. I mean, you watch. I mean, look at the
Yeah,
picture.
it wasn't even close. Yeah,
Right. I mean, you look at the picture.
Even LeBron posted it and said, "Good block, Jason Tatum."
Yeah, and Tatum got back to him. He was like, well, I forget what his response was. It was a funny back and forth, but
Right,
you look at the picture. I mean, it's right there. I
all
mean, it's not
arm.
the
Yeah,
ball. The ball. You can't see my hand. The ball was here. He hit him here.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it
It wasn't
wasn't
even
even
close.
close.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, if
It's
he'd got him on the
crazy.
wrist, fine. I can see where the refs might have missed it with where the angle was with the layup. I mean, it was right here.
Right. Yeah, it was
Like,
crazy. Yeah, that's why I think I've always been saying like, refs should be fine, just like players should be fine for techs and stuff like that. It would make them more. It would hold them more accountable to make the right call and be more, I guess, into the game and just not in the moment, I guess. But I think they should be fine if they miss blatant calls like that.
it's interesting you say that one day after the AFC Championship game where people are saying the same thing about the NFL refs, but we won't get on
Right.
that. We won't get
Hey,
on that
man.
right now because I talked about my gambling habits earlier. I don't need to talk about that game. I don't need to talk about what happened in that game. But man, I mean that Laker game. I mean that's been the story of the weekend. Is LeBron's
Yeah.
reaction went everywhere. I mean. He reacted like he did. You still went to overtime. You didn't lose the
Right.
game
Yeah.
yet. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, they ended up losing, but you didn't lose the game.
Yeah.
Like,
Once they went to overtime, it was over. Boston was going to
yeah,
win it because I feel like they just gave everything they had, and Braun's older, so he can't really too many miles on the body for him. So he gave it over everything he had in regulation to win the game, and it just didn't happen.
and that call would have been a big factor in that too. And I still
Yeah.
that video of Pat Bev taking the taking the
Yeah. That's
camera to
hilarious, man. That's crazy.
I mean, I know a couple people said the same thing. I couldn't imagine. I used to take pictures at Loyola basketball games, and I mean, I had it where there'd be like bad calls or something. I'd sit in front of the student section. I'd take the camera and I would hold the camera up to let them see. I wouldn't give them the camera,
Right.
but I
Yeah.
could not imagine if a player came up to me and said, "Hey, give me that." Like
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
like, no, I don't want to give you my. I mean, I love
Right.
this thing.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
trust anybody with it.
Right.
That's just a
Yeah, that
that's
was a vet move. I would say you never
oh
see a rookie or a 2 or 3 year player do something like that. Definitely a veteran doing that.
it was a Pat Bev move. I mean, I
Yeah,
say that with the utmost
yeah.
respect for Patrick Beverly because that
Right.
that guy cracks me up.
Yeah, he's funny. He's
And
hilarious.
then his on social media too, like he's a character. I mean, that's Chicago proud, man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All the way through Chicago through and through. So anyway, back to the Bulls as we wrap up here. Let's look at the schedule real quick again because let's just look ahead real quick. We got coming up on a week before the deadline, you've got the Clippers Tuesday night. Then you've got the Hornets again on your home turf. If they lose to the Hornets again, I'm going scorched earth.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go ballistic if they lose to
right.
them again, as if I haven't gone ballistic enough this year.
We're
And
canceling
then
the show if they lose the Hornets.
for the sake of my microphone, we might have to. I mean, for the sake of this thing, I don't want to break it by just going all Stephen A. Smith into this thing.
Right.
I don't want to be like Stephen A. when the Knicks lose. Like,
Right.
I don't want that for the listener's sake, for your sake. Like, I mean, but hey, if people click on it, I'll do it. But you've got the Blazers, then you've got the Spurs, and you got the Grizzlies, the last game before the deadline. So these 4 games before the deadline, if please don't lose all four. If you lose all
Yeah.
four, then you're gonna really see things get interesting, and you're gonna see the
Yeah.
fan base get even more upset. But I mean, week and a half to go until the deadline. It feels like something's gonna happen. I just don't know when or man, if they stand pat, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. Just, just stay on Twitter and Instagram and just be ready for anything to happen. Expect the unexpected.
Part of me has this worry that they're not gonna do anything. I don't know. I've got
Yeah.
this worry that they're just gonna stick with what they've got and go with continuity. And I didn't even get to the fact that Lonzo is probably not coming back this year based on the update Billy Donovan had. Like
Right.
he's not doing anything right now, literally nothing. So, man,
Yes.
it's going to be
So
interesting.
yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how that turns out and how that how you can repair that relationship, I guess, if it needs to be repaired and stuff like that. So we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a crazy few weeks, and we're going to have all the updates here. If anything happens, you'll have some kind of update, but just do something. Anyway, before I start trying to figure out the world's problems here again, we'll go ahead and wrap up today's episode of Believe in Bulls here on the Believe Network, presented by BetOnline.ag. Use that promo code BLEAV, 50% welcome bonus. There's a lot going on. You got the big game coming up in a couple weeks. That game is set. I know that's a lot of fun to bet on. Yeah, college hoops. CJ's number 2 ranked Vols. They're playing well. The Ramblers still can't win a conference game, but that's okay. You can still, if you're wanting to bet mid-major basketball, you got that too. And buy our shirt, Jordan Pippen 98, The Last Dance, shop.believe.com. CJ, we got an interesting week ahead. We're going to have some updates here Thursday, more rumors. It's going to get louder. This is a fun time of year.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be fun, exciting to see what happens, who gets moves, who gets traded, and I'm just ready to make it happen.
Yeah, I hope something happens. That's all I want. I don't care who, I don't care when. Something please happen.
Yeah,
And hopefully the Bulls do something so they don't just roll out this poorly constructed roster anymore. But
right.
we will see you back here on Friday. Enjoy the week.